So, had so many blow-ups with Opentoonz last couple days. So many crashes that I finally started saying, you know what? I'm going to go back and start looking at other software. Like, for example, Blender. Oopsie poo. That's not what I meant to do. So what I'm doing is I am literally learning in real time here. Working with the Blender 2.8 grease pencil. And so far so good. Definitely having to learn a few new Blender idioms. So here I'm going to go tab and then control, drag, rotate that a little bit, go like that. Maybe S key, shrink that a little bit. So a good bit of it seems to work the same way it always did, so that's good. Not that though. It used to be hit A to select all and then A again to let's see, the D key does not work for drawing anymore, so it's pretty obvious to me that there's going to have to be a lot of hotkeys set up. Turns out that when you're drawing, if you hit control, that invokes the eraser, so that's not bad. That's pretty useful. Okay, so that's pretty good. So what we're up to here is this shot. But boss, I thought you said. So I'm just going ahead and doing it from a slightly different angle. So my sense at this point is that there's not going to be much movement in this shot, so therefore I'm probably going to be fine to go ahead and just ink this one frame, and then if I want to do any secondary animation like a slight turn of the head when, but boss, I thought you said, like this, something like that on this guy, then I can go ahead and just do that with the inked character. So I'm just going to turn this down and I'm going to go to lines. Now, let's save our work. My thinking here is that I want to use a different brush. So probably I would say the biggest challenge with Blender 2.8 is that there's so much stuff on the screen that are little tiny icons that it's not really clear what they do. So you have to really take your time going through and figuring out. Okay, so we're in draw mode. This is draw pencil, so I click it. Okay, so if you click here, you're going to change the name of it. If you click here, you're going to change the actual brush. So what I want is, oh brother, I don't know. I'm going to try draw ink. Let's see what that works. If that works. Okay, that's not bad. So now the options here, what I want to do is I want to adjust the smoothing. Maybe under options? Yes, turns out that is it. Okay, right now the smoothing is set to 1. I'm going to set it to 2 and 2 iterations. Let's just let's go all the way. Let's go to 3 just to see what happens. Okay, that's not bad. That's actually pretty good. Okay, so now the color that I'm using is called black, but it's not really black. So just to be fair, let's use red since that's an outline color anyway, and then we'll just change the color later. Actually, let's change it to blue now, and then let's take this black color and make it more of a light red. Okay, so now we're going to be in the lines level layer, we're going to have kind of a bluish color for our actual lines, and let's just see how these turn out. Okay, my feeling right now is that I probably don't want to do that. The smoothing is probably a bit more, well, actually, no, strike that. It isn't the smoothing. It's the dynamics of the brush itself. It's actually got the ability to get really wide, wider than I like. So if I press hard, see what it does. Yeah, in many cases, I would say in many cases that's awesome. You know, it's great. For what I'm doing, I probably want more control. But for the moment, what I'm doing is I'm simply not applying much pressure. Okay, I'm just being rather ginger with my brush. Okay, which is fine. That's one way to work. Okay, let's see here. So as far as the smoothing goes, and I'm just going to cut these off because I don't know actually how Blender 2.8 does its fill calculations. Oh, that was stupid. So I'm going to assume that I need to keep those shapes closed. So I'm just going to do that just so we have closed shapes. I'm probably not being as careful here about the overall quality of the rendering, you might say, mainly because this is an experiment and it may well backfire. My luck with Blender 2.8 has not been stellar so far. Okay, so now this is kind of disappointing. Okay. So I'm in the front view and I hit 9. Oh, there it goes. There it flipped, so that's what I wanted. Nice. So normally I'd probably want to use more than one color for his eyes here to... Okay, so now the smoothing's starting to bite me in the butt a little bit there. That's okay. I will say and I have mentioned this before, but the brushes, the tactile feel for the painting in Blender 2.8 is really nice. It feels very intuitive, and actually, as I'm working with it here, I'm actually starting to like the pressure sensitivity. As you can see right there, I'm allowing myself to use pressure to add some character to my character's eyebrows. Alright, so now through the rest of the show I've been doing these by hand, so it's really tempting to use like a polyline tool, but I think that would probably be ill-advised since we want to sort of keep that natural shape. Okay, so one other thing here on Blender 2.8 is I noticed that the smoothing seems a little smarter. So like it's smoothing those lines, but it's not totally killing these areas that I want to have pointed. So that's pretty good too. And obviously you could always just have these lines cross. Let's do that line again. Boom. Boom. Okay, so that's probably why we have this tool called a cutter. Lets us do this sort of thing, which I think is quite useful. And you can just clean up these little odds and ends. So my main complaint, if I have one at this point, is that I'm having to do more clicking than I really want to, yeah, with the mouse, because I just simply don't know the hotkeys yet. Okay, boom, 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 boom. Okay, so that's fine. Let's zip back. All right, we're going to want to draw this line here. And I think for our purposes, again, I'm not really very totally impressed with this character, but let's just stick to, okay, stick to what stick to a less than exacting process, because I really want to find out if I'm going to bump into some issues that are going to make this a miserable process and make me say, forget it. The problem I had in Opentoonz is actually quite simple. There's a point I reached with, here we have a sequence that's basically an animatic, and then these animatics essentially consist of a pre-baked character level and then a background level, which is actually hidden in the live preview. Then the dialogue is this column, which is actually made so that it doesn't render. So I took each of these shots that are going to be, expanded a little bit with maybe secondary animation or lip sync or whatever, and I put them all in these alternating column sub-X sheets. And I just reached a point where things just started crashing. I believe it was like this shot right here. If I click this sub-X sheet, at least all day yesterday, every time I click this sub-X sheet, Opentoonz crashes and just literally disappears. So I'm going to save all and watch. Oops, must not be that one, must be this one. Yep, there it is. Boom. Now it didn't just disappear this time. It just did a normal crash. But so anyway, that's been happening a lot, and so with that in mind, I'm a little bit frustrated. But it is interesting that I found out if I went on to the next sub-X sheet, it didn't crash. So there's something about that one sub-X sheet that's acting funky. But anyway, it got me thinking. So I'm like, yeah, okay, let's just play around with Blender again. All right, so let's call this. Let's call this skin, just because we're going to definitely need a flesh tone. We're not going to have a stroke, and we're only going to have a fill. And for the fill, we'll make it a nice, bright, shiny flesh tone type of color. Okay, so let's just see what happens. We're going to be in the fills layer. We're going to go ahead and keep the fills and the lines separate. So boom. Okay, not bad. Let's since we clearly have a leak in the eye, let's just increase our leak size and see what that does. Let's just make it kind of stupidly big and see what happens. Okay, so there's the problem you're going to have. There's always going to be a trade-off between the ability to detect leaks and the how tightly the fill tool is going to be able to fill all the corners and things like that. This is actually pretty impressive. So apparently if we're going to fiddle with the leak size, we need to be a little more careful. So now one thing that is confusing is why is it filling the eyes when, as far as I can tell, even zooming way in, there are no leaks. So what's going on there? Okay, so now it got this one, but not this one. So let's take the leak size, go to 10. Okay, 10, that's interesting. 10 is not bad, but this is the quality of fills you would get from Krita, let's say. It's going to fill into the corners. I mean, maybe not 10. It's probably about an 8. Okay. So at 8, it doesn't want to respect these lines. That's kind of weird, but okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this oh boy, material. Okay. There's so many things I'm trying to think about that I'm having a hard time speaking English. So I think this this icon looks like a duplicator, but if I remember correctly, it does not duplicate. Let's see. Okay, I see what it did. Got it. It did duplicate the material, but it did not create a new slot. Okay, so that's not a big deal. What we want to do is put skin in there, and then we'll change this to we'll call this eye teeth, since it's going to be the color for both the eyes and the teeth. Now, it's kind of interesting that I may be moving too fast, but it seems to me that this was filled a moment ago, and when I switched the materials that it became unfilled. Did that happen, or am I imagining that? I might have imagined that. Let's grab the skin again. Okay. So now this material is going to be, it's kind of tough to get it exactly to the center here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click anywhere here in the interface, which gives me a known gray color, and that forced this to be in the center. So now I know I've actually got a gray color. So that's cool. That worked. Okay, so the order of operations, therefore, is add a new material slot, and then see, the problem is I want to duplicate this material because I've got parameters of this that I like, and the only thing I want to change is the actual color. All the other settings I want to remain the same. So that's a little confusing. The slot is there, and if I go new, yeah, okay, I guess it's no big tragedy. All I really wanted to do is get rid of the stroke, and so actually, and this is actually supposed to be black. That's what we want. So let's give that a crack. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Okay, now this is okay, this is criticism worthy. The very idea that the fill tool is actually constrained by the screen zoom is bizarre. But okay, we'll go with it. I mean, it doesn't keep us from getting our work done, so no point crying about it. It looks like the leak size is something you'll find you have to tweak the leak. So again, no big tragedy. That, to me, I just think that's really, really strange. That is really strange. But that's alright. We're going to go with it. I mean, at least we're getting some work done, you know. Okay. Not bad. Couple things up here we need to tweak. But, I mean, the cool thing is the quality of the visuals looks good. We should be able to add a good shadow layer, and let's go ahead and get the wraps and the hair. So we're going to need 2 more slots, and we're just going to add 2 new materials. We're going to keep it simple, and this will be wraps. I better save my work, by the way. And this will be Ninja 2's hair. Okay, no stroke, only fill, and this is going to be basically an orange-ish color. Yeah, something like that. This is going to be a bluish color, and that's actually pretty close. The good news is we can always tweak it later. You can always adjust, and now that I see that, I can tell it definitely has to be adjusted. So I'm going to go ahead and go like that, and that, and that, and then we'll go back, and again, this is one of the nice things, is we can adjust it in post. I actually feel like maybe that's slightly saturated. Okay, not bad. Alright, and now we go to the camera view. Let's see what we've got. You know, it's not bad. Not bad. Again, save early, save often. Got my coffee, helping me make it through the morning. Okay, now let's go back to. Now, how did black and red get reversed? Okay, this is a little strange. That's definitely not red. And I'm sure that was my doing. Actually, this is not black either. This is ink lines. Yeah, if this goes well, I'm going to call this sketch because I may change it from red later. Okay, this is a little strange. This should not have a fill. Oh, I see what's going on. It's got a fill, but the fill is transparent. Now, that could be important. That actually could be really important. Here's why. If you think about the way this works in Opentoonz, if you have a color, if you have lines in here, okay, but their alpha is set to 0, so you can't see them. As far as the program's concerned, they are still there, and so it'll affect your fill operations. So that's something to think about. My thinking is that for my ink color, I want it to definitely have no fill at all. Okay, so now having done that, I can go ahead and add these little adjustments here. Again, using the drawing ink brush, which has some nice smoothing applied. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, so now I did make a mistake just there. And those who are paying attention would probably notice this, that I put those lines in the fill layer. Probably not the biggest tragedy the biggest crime I've ever committed. So go to the lines, and let's go ahead and ink character number 2. And then we'll basically go in and do some secondary animation, and probably we're going to render this and add it to the show. So, feeling pretty good about my experience with Blender 2.8 today. And I'm glad for that. Yeah, I tell you, I love Opentoonz. It's not perfect, but man, has it been frustrating the last couple days. Okay, I'm going to go to the curves tool because I want to. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, obviously we're going to have to put the radius down to a more reasonable level. Let's turn the pressure off. We're not going to want that. And I'm going to say no, probably 10. And I should mention also that, it's possible we'll get this whole thing baked into the show. Okay, so something to note here. I actually like this. I actually like this a lot. And I didn't expect this. So I want to show you what's going on here. I did not expect that when I turned my screen overlays off. I still am learning the icons here. Display overlays. Okay, I turn overlays on, and if I use this tool, I get these widgets. Now, what's interesting and what makes this arc tool really good, and Antonio, as much as I've criticized some of the things in Blender 2.8, this was well done, sir. I appreciate it. You don't actually have to grab the blue dot in order to make the tweaks, and then you just hit the E key to extend to a new segment. Okay. Well, when you turn the overlays off, it actually works the same as the polyarc tool that I was coding. Other than the fact that it draws an arc, but I can live with that. My preference is this first line should actually be a line, not an arc, but that's okay. And so what happens here is you're using this arc tool, and it's very intuitive. I mean, very well done. All right, and you just hit E if you want it to extend, and then you can just tweak it until you're done tweaking, and then you hit enter, and everything gets kept. Excellent, 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 excellent. I like it. Okay, so now I'm going to hit the tab key, which does put me in edit mode so that I can select L for linked and we're going to get rid of that stroke. So actually, I'm having so much fun with the arc tool that I'm going to keep using it. I'm going to keep using it because I think the arc tools are a super great way to ink. Super, super great way to ink. And look at that. That's what I'm talking about, baby. That is how it ought to look. Dang. This is well done. I give my compliments to Antonio. He did a very good job. I assume he coated it. I think most of the Blender Grease Pencil 2 stuff has been coated by Antonio. And so, you know, again, as critical as I may be from time to time, I would like to think that I am just as lavish in my praise when things are done well. And I'm definitely seeing things here that are improvements compared to what I saw in some of the earlier. Well, and one thing I got to say too, by the way, super cool on the part of the Blender development team is that if you go to download Blender 2.8, it's still listed as Blender 2.8 beta. But if you look at all the literature, if you look at all the, I don't know what you'd call it. I mean, if you go to blender.org and start investigating Blender 2.8, you're going to see that they have retreated, and in my opinion, quite rightly, they have retreated from calling this Blender 2.8 beta. I'm not naive enough to think that this is, you know, that they were paying attention to me and taking my advice, but my advice was quite some time ago is this is not beta software and it shouldn't be called beta software. Until the software is feature complete, oops, that's darn it, that's not what I wanted to do. Unfortunately, I got to start that one over. Until the software is feature complete and you're, in other words, you're no longer okay. Unfortunately, because I'm new to this arc tool in Blender, I can't talk and use it at the same time. So I'm going to be quiet for a minute. Okay. If the software is feature complete and now we're putting it out there for users to test to find bugs, that would be what I would consider beta software. If it's still, you know, in the works and you're just kind of really excited about getting it out there, then fine, get it out there. But that's not beta software, that's alpha software. And Blender is being dubbed, I believe, Alpha 2 now at this point, which I think is completely right. That's exactly what it is. And you know what? For alpha software, it's pretty darn good. You know? So any of those people out there who really wonder if I had become a Blender hater with 2.8, no, sir. I've been a Blender user for 20 years. That's not going to stop just because of a few hiccups. Back in the time when I was being critical, I was just telling it like I see it, you know. But all in all, I mean, right now what I'm seeing is this is a perfectly viable tool for, I mean, I'm doing my pencil test, I'm doing my inking, I can see that I'm going to be able to do keyframes, sculpting. I may be coming back home to Blender again before too long. If, you know, one thing it's going to have over Opentoonz is that Opentoonz there's a definite performance ceiling, and I know I'll find that with Blender too, but in all these years I've basically never found it. What I found with Blender is the version that you're using is either stable or it's not, and if it's not, it's going to crash a lot and get ready for some frustration. But there are key releases over the years that have been extremely stable and fun to work with. So 2.79's been great. 2.49 was great. I personally, way back in the day, got a lot of use out of 2.28, although it really wasn't that stable. But that was one of the earlier versions where we had IK and we had the some of the non-linear animation stuff. Okay, so now I could see the fill tool. You know, it stops. It doesn't bleed under the screen. Okay. I could see where maybe it would do that with the camera, but even then that wouldn't be very useful because a lot of times you have a character that's partially off camera and then he's going to come on to camera. So yeah, that is definitely weird. But it's not like horribly weird. Because obviously they have to... Okay, hold on, I got a call coming in, so I'm going to have to pause the video. Oh, guess not. I guess I'm going to ignore that call. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do this as a sketch mode kind of thing. So this is the same situation. We're just going to take it off screen and make sure we close the shapes. How'd the smoothing work? Not bad, not bad. So that seems to be my mantra today. My mantra is not bad, not bad. Again, I'm probably being less careful than I should be here. Let's do this. Let's just do the right thing here. Obviously these hands look dumber than stupid, you know. So I'm gonna, since I'm starting to gain some confidence that this is gonna go well, I'm gonna go ahead and become a little more careful with my anatomy because I'm actually trying to get real work done now at this moment. I'm officially thinking that this shot is going to be done in Blender. So therefore I want to step back a bit and make sure that the anatomy and whatnot doesn't look completely idiotic. Okay, I'm just going to cut that across there. Now he does have his leather strappy thingy. So we'll just pull that down that way. This guy, I guess we probably would be able to see his wrap right there. And we also would be able to see his other arm wrap. So as long as we're in the lines layer, let's go ahead and add these. Boom, boom. And now let's color this guy in. Save early, save often. Let's go to the fill layer. Let's deal with his wraps. Oops, we're supposed to be using the fill tool. And okay, that's interesting. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, I see what the problem is. My bad. Gotta turn the pencils off. Okay, why do we have... Okay, thought I saw a little icon there. Alright, so now that should feel better. Sorry, again, my bad. I filled it on the pencil layer. Ah! What an idiot. I just filled it on the lines layer. Okay. Finally. Whew! That was painful, wasn't it? It must be even more painful for you to watch. Like, this idiot. He's such an idiot. What is he doing? What's he doing? Alright, yep, got the same problem in the eyes. Boom, 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 boom. Now we're going to need a leather color. Not bad, not bad. Yeah, we're going to need a leather color. Wow, that's actually doing a super good job of filling. Antonio, dude, excellent. Excellent work, my friend. Excellent. Vast improvement. Okay, the leather. We need the leather color. So let's add a slot and a new color that has no stroke, only a fill, and the color is going to be kind of a brownish, yeah, there you go. It's a leather color. Yeah, it looks about right. Boom. Okay, let's go to the camera. We have a little problem. We have a little problem, but we can fix that. Like so. We can't fix it like so. Okay, that is definitely problematic. Okay, that is definitely problematic. Look at that. Okay. Not the end of the world. I guess we can just do it this way. Okay. What the heck? I guess we can actually go behind the lines. So yeah, that works. Okay. As much as it's tempting to whine and cry about what I'm having to do right now, the truth is in every other application I've used, it would be even harder to deal with. So I'm not complaining. All right, here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to add another layer, and this is going to be shadows. All right, and what we want is, again, another slot. We need a slot and a new color, and this one, again, is going to have no stroke. It's going to have a fill. It's going to be black, but it's going to be really transparent. That's it. That's all we need. And now what we're going to do is we're going to just use that to create some shadows. And because I'm using the okay, that wasn't perfect, but because I'm using the pen that has the smoothing, I guess I'll just do this part and then we'll sort of do it one little bit at a time. Okay, that's nice. The stroke disappears just as I would want it to, and I'm left with a nicely smooth shadow area. Now the one problem with it is I can't fix this by just adding more because the shadows are going to pile on top of each other, which on balance is a good thing because that means I can actually have multiple layers of shadowing going on. So let's just make this alpha. I think this is going to be 0.1. 0.15. Yeah, that's probably about right. Okay, and that gives me, again, the ability to get into a little bit more detail with my shadows. Let's solve this one problem first. Let's save our work, and then let's go into the sculpt mode. Obviously, I could use proportional editing as well, but what I want to do is, let's see. Okay, yes, that's what I was afraid of. Okay, I want to limit my sculpting to the current layer. I have literally no idea how to do that. Not a clue. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, I'll do my best with the sculpt tool, and if it gets to be too much of a pain, what I could do is go back into edit mode, grab these guys, let's find, yeah, proportional editing is turned off, And usually that's the O key, and that appears to have worked. And if it's not projected 2D, if it's connected, then I can go ahead and, yeah, see, that's cool. Now I can just make adjustments to the shadow, and it has absolutely no effect on the other strokes, which is really cool because I can make little adjustments like this and really tighten it up. Whoops. Quite easily. So that's impressive. Very impressive. Okay, so now we're going to go back into draw mode. Should still be on the shadows layer. And by the way, I think the shadows layer really should be... okay, that's interesting. Okay, that answers that question. Is this backwards from Blender 2.79? I think it might be. So the levels or the layers that are on top of the stack are on top in the Z stack as well. It seems to me 2.79 is the opposite of that. In other words, if you want something to be on top, you'd put it at the bottom of the list, and I always found that to be somewhat counterintuitive. So this is better. At least there's an exact parallel between what you see here and what you see here in terms of stacking. So again, kudos developers. We appreciate your hard work. Okay, actually, yeah, okay, let's go with that. The thing about it is that this shadow, this process of drawing shadows is so, it's so easy to see what you're doing that I don't mind. Like, I love the fact that it's generating the fill as I go along. I love that. Just makes it really easy, again, to see what the heck you're doing. Alright, and then back over here, edit mode. I'm just going to pull that over a little bit. Pull that over a little bit. Alright. And I think I have to go shift tab. How do I get back into control tab? No. Well, okay. Control tab. Control tab works. Okay, stop. Now, the one thing we don't have is the ability to lock the alpha of our shadows. So, but what do we get in exchange for not having that ability? We have the ability to have lots of really intuitive control over the shadows that we're putting in there. So, all in all, it's a win. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put in his shadows sort of one by one. Okay, this is problematic. I have to have this completely on screen or it won't draw it. So that'll work. That'll work. Now, as far as these secondary shadow levels that I was talking about, that means that I can do something like this. I can go ahead and add an extra level of detail in shadowing that is kind of difficult to do in really any other application. So I like it. Okay, I said I like it. I actually don't like it now that I see it. So it's one of those cases where you want to be careful not to take things too far. What I think I want is just a little bit here. Yes, that's fine. This guy, on the other hand, he needs a little something under his eyebrow. That bleeds a little bit into his eye. So we catch a little bit of shadowing under the eyeball. think maybe a little boom like that. Yep, that'll work. Maybe a little bit there too, actually. So again, I like the way I can pile up these shadows like that. All in all, the thing we don't want to do is make it substantively different stylistically than what we've been doing all along in the show. So, got to be careful about that. All right, I'm gonna save that. Now, let me see here. Okay, I just hit render, and on my other screen, what I saw was nothing. What I really want is the good old-fashioned, tried and true OpenGL render. But before I do that, I'm going to hit Tab, and I'm going to change this to projected 2D. Okay, why is that snapping? Go. Okay, that was kind of interesting. Edit mode. Huh. Wonder how I got in shear mode. Maybe I hit the S key or something. So what is going on now is I did something, changed something, so that now everything is snapped. Not sure if it's snapped to the grid. Let's go back here and look. Okay, so when I hit the G key, it's very strange because it appears to be snapping per the dimensions of the grid, but not snapping to the grid. So what did I do to cause this snapping? Sorry about this, folks. I literally don't know what I did. My finger over here just touched the wrong key. Snap during transform. Shift tab. Okay, it was way back when I hit Shift tab. Okay, so what I wanted to do was just get this under control. So let's zoom out here. And I love that I can do this. This is where Blender really shines. Those little adjustments are just awesome to be able to make. The way everything works together as a unit. Okay, so now the question is, saved by the way, how do I render? If I hit render image, oh, that time it rendered. Okay, I did this a minute ago and it did not render, which was a little strange. Okay, so I don't even know about the OpenGL render in Blender 2.8. Well, the one thing I'm certain of is that this looks fine and we can cut this into the show. So I'm going to hit save and I'm going to call it a day. Because I need to go ahead and get the background in here and then we'll render it. And well, actually let's add the secondary animation. How are we going to do that? What I was going to do is let's just go. We're going to say, let's hit play. Boss, I thought you said. Okay, so right about here, I want to see a little bit of a change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit. I'm in edit mode, so I should be able to hit Control. And select all of this. And now I'm going to hit the period key because I want it to be the 3D cursor that it rotates on, and basically there's my rotation point. So now there we go. Okay, it took a minute for Blender to realize that I was trying to rotate this guy, so that's a little strange. Like I just hit the R key and now it's taking, it took like 3 or 4 seconds for Blender to decide that, yeah, we're going to go ahead and let you rotate. So that's a little strange. That should be instant. Okay, now while I'm being critical, okay, I didn't mean to do that. Let's go, yeah, let's hit the arrow to get back to the previous keyframe. And now I hit the R key, waiting, waiting, waiting. Okay, there it is. Alright, so now, Alt A. Okay, that works. Now, what needs to change here, I'm just gonna insert a keyframe, because actually this is gonna be tricky. What I need to do is use some sculpting. I think we should use the regular sculpt mode tools. So I think F key, yes, I want a really big. I just want a slight change here. This is probably not going to work. I'm probably going to have to redraw this guy. I kind of forgot. I forgot about this thing that I wanted in here. So what I'm going to do is, let's go back. I think I'm going to go back one step. I mean, there's obviously a lot of things I could do here. Like, for example, tab. If I want to make an adjustment to this stuff. Okay, if I hit the go button. Okay, and now what I can do is turn the range of influence way down. Okay, that's interesting. The range of influence is kind of medium point, I think is what I want. Yeah. It's kind of backwards to what I would expect. So I'm rolling my mouse down to make the range of influence bigger. That's why I'm look like I'm working like this, like I don't know what I'm doing. It's because it's basically working completely the opposite of what I would expect. So now, how do I unselect? Maybe Control Alt? No, Control Shift, I bet. Yep, Control Shift. Okay, so now, boy, that takes a long time. Okay, that's really not working, so I'm just gonna kind of skip that whole idea. Let's check our keys again. Honestly, it's not horrible. It isn't horrible. It's not great, but it's not horrible. So what I'm going to do is try to get these equalized a bit. So the problem is that the original drawing of this guy was not quite right. Okay, fortunately that sort of worked. So I'm going to go with it. Now what I want to do is I want to go to my lines layer, go back into draw mode, hit Control to erase. Sorry guys, I was using the shadow color instead of the lines color. Ink lines. Okay, because what happens is Mr. Idiot Guy makes his comment, yeah, that works, and then you get a reaction shot from Mr. Big, so that's fine. We'll go back into sculpt mode here, and I think there's a slight change I could make that would make this even better, but okay, that's interesting. Okay, stop. Control Z. Interesting. So the sculpt mode, I'm looking at what is the sculpt mode influencing. I'm going to make this big again. So it seems to only be affecting the ink lines, but it seems like before it was affecting everything. So why did it change? Yeah, and see, so now it's limiting its influence to the active layer. Why would that be? Another thing I'm curious about is why is the lines, why is that grayed out, I wonder? It's grayed out down here too in the dope sheet. What did I do to, oh, because it's locked. It's locked. That's why it wasn't being influenced. Okay, fine. I don't remember locking it, but I'm sure I did. Okay, that works. That actually works. Okay, save. Save early, save often, right, folks? Okay, I'm going to have to split out of here and go shopping here shortly. So, now, what do we have going on here? Well, we know that we want to look at the background, and hopefully I will not forget to switch back away from this view. But what I want is I want a background image. Okay, so now, boop, there I remembered to switch back. And now the background image, as you can see, is sort of faded out. So, and this is a new thing for Blender 2.8. I don't actually know how to make it full color. I'm guessing maybe that's associated with the world. It's going to either be the display options, which is what it used to be, or it's going to be the world. So let's look at display. Well, that's viewport shading. What about T and N? Aha. There we go. I think. Collections visibility. So I don't want to waste too much of people's time with searching, you know, for stuff that I don't know how to do. But I mean, in Blender 2.79, you would drag an image into the viewport and it would just show up in the background, and that was that. And it would be the N key that would get you to the options to make it as opaque as you want it to be. I guess the question right now is, does it render? And it doesn't. Okay, when I render it, the background image doesn't show up, so that's problematic. So I guess what we want to do is look at the world. There's the world. Background viewport display. Surface. Use nodes. That I'm not sure about. Okay, I'm going for a guess here. It would be. See, I haven't done the node-based materials like at all, not at all, ever. So therefore, and I'm at this point, I have to completely learn all these icons. Like, what do they even mean? I know that they correlate to the, you know, I know what they correlate to in Blender 2.79, but I just looking at them, I don't know what they are. I have to learn them. I wonder about the camera. That's the world. Transform, modifiers, okay, and effects. Where the heck? Oh, there's my materials. Okay, there's my materials, but oh, texture. There we go. Let's add a texture. Let's make it an image or movie, and let's make it this. Okay, that's a start. And so it's interesting because according to the Blender literature, the materials in the grease pencil are now standard Blender materials, which means they could have textures and whatnot. So what I don't know is if this is already implemented, and so I need to sort of learn how to get to the textures from here. I'm just not sure. So maybe I should stop here. Yeah, it's been an hour. So we're kind of stalled. I don't know how to add a background behind these guys that's going to render properly. You know what might be smart, actually? Come to think of it. Let's try one more thing. Let's go back into object mode, and let's just add a plane. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. Gee, I guess I need to turn my viewport displays back on, but the question is, where the heck did my plane appear? Aha! Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go on the Z. Nope, I'm sorry, I'm going to go on the Y-axis. Let's go to side view. Rotate this around. I'm hitting click. Okay, so now I can size this up. Size it on the Z. Size it up. Go. Actually, so I'm going to... Okay, that should be pretty close. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag the image onto the plane and see what happens. And what happens, by the way, in Blender 2.8 is precisely nothing. So that's a little problematic again. So I'm back where I started. I have to figure out this matter of just dragging an image onto a plane and instantly it's UV mapped and everything's like magical and works perfect. Apparently those days are over. So not sure how to make my image appear. Could be a display function. To really know, I would have to look at the materials. This guy does not have a material at this point. Maybe the U key. Shift U, Control U, Alt U. No, nothing. How do I get to, you know, UV mapping properties? I don't have a clue. So with that, I'm going to stop, save my work, and we will continue later after I've gotten a couple questions answered.